communities up in the highlands, where we say in my native language, we wake up walking through the clouds. We are the people of the clouds. Out of the 68 indigenous languages that are spoken in the Mexican Republic, 16 are spoken in our state. Mexico is a multicultural, multilingual country where 7.2 million Mexicans speak an indigenous language, and 11.3% speak only an indigenous language. One out of five Mexicans is indigenous, according to the Mexican Human Rights Commission. I come from a sacred place where now very few people live. It's a ghost town, because most of us are here in Los Angeles. Indigenous communities are rich in culture and natural resources. However, every day we are forced to leave to the US due to US agricultural dumpings, military aid, and the drugs on drugs. And our lands are being taken by transnational companies, many of them US owned. When we stand up for our land and human rights, we are threatened with death by the Mexican police and army, as we saw the 43 missing students in Guerrero, in Ayotzinapa, who were mostly indigenous. Many members of the Mexican army and police are trained in the Western Hemisphere Institute for Security Cooperation, not to wage a war against drugs, but to wage a war against indigenous communities in three of the most indigenous states, Oaxaca, Chiapas, and Guerrero. Many of us are forced to have starvation salary working for US companies in Mexico. We go from being landowners to becoming low-wage workers. That is the reason why we come to the US. It's the economic policies. In the US, we are in the same condition. We make more than 20% of the agricultural labor force in California. We face discrimination, structural racism, and labor exploitations, along with racism from our other Mexican brothers and sisters. We have integrated to the US culture. In this audience, you will find Oaxacans that have graduated from Berkeley, Harvard, Stanford, UCLA, not only with bachelor's degrees, but also with master's and PhDs. We contribute economically and culturally to the social fabric of the United States. We are proud to call ourselves American because we are the original owners of the American continent. Yet, we are so proud of being from this great country. We also have the right to be treated equally while being different. For this reason, I ask you, what will you and your team do to build a broad, inclusive coalition that acknowledges our diverse community and create policies that recognizes indigenous people's right to stay home and making migration voluntary instead of a forced necessity? Will you ensure that we renegotiate NAFTA so it no longer leads to poverty and displacement in our communities in Oaxaca? And prohibit any future agreements like TPP that increases unemployment, low wages, poverty, and displacement of indigenous people all over. Thank you and welcome to Oaxaca, California.
Thank you.
Gakarencho Berni. Can everybody repeat Gakarencho Berni? And you're gonna say Gakarencho de. Gakarencho Berni. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for your presentation. You covered a whole lot of area. All important, truly important. You know, one of the things, let me start off at the end and we'll touch on some of the other issues, not all, but some of them. Trade. Our current trade policies, going back to NAFTA, have not only been a disaster for workers in this country, they have been a disaster in terms of NAFTA for workers and farmers in Mexico. And what has happened, and as you have indicated, what has happened and what these trade agreements are part of a global effort for a race to the bottom. Some of you remember a guy named Jack Welch. That name mean anything to you? Welch was the former head of General Electric, one of the largest corporations in America. This is what he said. This is what he said before he got a $400 million retirement package. What he said is, if I had my druthers, if I had my wishes, I would put our manufacturing plants, GE's manufacturing plants, on a barge, on a boat. And I would take them to those parts of the world where wages were the lowest. And if somebody could go lower than Mexico, we'll go there. If you go lower than China, you go to Vietnam. If you go to lower in Vietnam, we'll find the place in the world where we can employ people for pennies an hour. So you're looking at somebody, unlike Secretary Clinton, who opposed all of these disastrous trade agreements, which have cost us millions of jobs. Now, that is what those trade agreements have done in this country. What they have done in Mexico is to drive small family farmers off of their land. There are communities in Mexico where you no longer can find men there or farms there because they have shut down because they're unable to compete against cheap corn coming in from the United States. So you're seeing a policy which has hurt workers in this country, hurt farmers in Mexico. We will together transform our trade policies so that they work for the working people of this country, that they work for the poor people of other countries, not just for the CEOs of large corporations. That's our trade policy. You know, as I go around the country, and I've learned a lot, because I have met with many people from diverse backgrounds. Point number one, we should be incredibly proud of the fact that in this country, unlike many other countries, we have folks from hundreds of countries in every continent on earth coming to the United States of America. Donald Trump does not understand it, but our diversity is our strength. Think what your people are adding to the culture of this country. Think what people from Africa are adding to the culture of this country, from Europe, from Asia. That is our strength, and we have got to build on that strength and not allow people to attack that strength. And by that, what I mean is all of us are proud of where we come from. I just talked literally yesterday, last night, to a group of Native Americans who understand that one of the challenges that their young people have is they have broken the roots from where they come from. As human beings, it is important that all of us know where we come from, that we maintain the languages that our people knew, our culture, that we protect the sovereign rights of people and the promises that were made to people. So to get to your very first question, whether it is dealing with the immigrant population or any other group, we have many problems in this country, and anybody thinks that I or anybody else who might become president knows all the answers, you're very wrong. The people who know the answers are the people who are doing the work, who are living the lives every single day. And what a good leader does, what a good, smart leader does for his or her own self-interest, you bring in the communities to say, all right, what do you see the problems? What do you see the solutions? How do we go forward? That has always been part of what I have tried to do, and certainly that is what I would do with the immigrant population. Thank you.
Our next presenter is a mother. She's undocumented, and she's fighting for immigrant rights for undocumented families for a very long time. Please help me introduce Betty.
Hi, my name is Betty Jaspiado, and I'm an undocumented mother. I could be a DAPA parent, but you know what happened, so I just have a hope. I've been living here for 30 years, and I never have that hope that I'm gonna be a citizen. And when I start talking about, immigration reform, S744, DAPA, I have a hope. I wanna go back to my country. I wanna get out from this city, because I feel like I'm in a cage. I can pass San Diego because it's a checkpoint. I could be deported. I can go Arizona because it's another checkpoint. It's a lot of checkpoints. I feel trapped. And I feel like every day when I get off from my home, I don't know if I'm going to come back. Before I was okay, I was working, I was fine, but after all these hopes, all this, that Obama promised us, right? And he just deporting our families. He's separating our families. He's tearing our families apart. And when I see all these things, make me think what's going to happen. I'm so afraid. I have to come every day and talk with people and pretend that I'm strong, but I'm not strong. I'm afraid. I'm really afraid to be deported at this time. After 30 years, I've been living in this country more time than I've been living in my country. So I feel American. I feel that I deserve to be here. And I work and I do a lot of things that I think I deserve something, but the reality is like I don't have nothing, right? I don't have hope, I don't have nothing. So I'm really afraid to be separated. I have a mom that is from Tijuana. It's in Tijuana right now. From Dreamers Moms Tijuana is Yolanda Barona. This lady called me once and she was deported. She asked me, Betty, what are you gonna do? Tell me to cross the desert. And if you told me to cross, I'm gonna cross the desert. And if I die, I prefer to die than be separated from my family. And I was like, no, you don't have to do that. I feel like a mom. I feel like I was her. So I keep talking to her, and now they are fighting to come back to this country. So I feel like what's gonna happen for all these people? What's gonna happen? And my question is, what you gonna do to family reunification, to family separation, to stop all deportations? That's my question. It's my concern. What's gonna happen with us?
Well, first of all, Betty, thank you for your courage, and thank you for your willingness in your own difficult times to help other people. All right, so number one, as I mentioned earlier, our immigration policy must be to unite families, not to divide them. I will end the deportation policies that currently exist, so you do not have to live in fear. I was in Phoenix, Arizona, a number of months ago. Raul was there as well. And I will never forget, sometimes you see things. We met with about a half a dozen teenage kids, Latinos, young ladies. Tears were coming down their cheeks because they expressed the same fear that Betty just expressed, that on any given day they could be separated from their mother or their father. And they live in fear, all right? So number one, we will end the current deportation policies. And number two, we will fight for the comprehensive immigration reform that we need. You've been in this country 30 years. Well, if you've been in this country 30 years, you are an American in every sense, and we have to make that legal as well. And if Raul's colleagues, Republicans in the House, refuse to do the right thing, we will look at all of our legal options in terms of expanding immigration rights through the executive powers that the president has. So that's what we will do. But thank you very much. Raul, did you want to add anything to that? Or?
I think you more than covered it, Senator.
Okay, thanks.